Hey, how are we doing there, everyone? Welcome back. So today we've got the wicked Kawasaki Z H2 out, and after the little tumble that this motorcycle took, I don't know, a few months ago, I've decided to whack on some frame sliders. Now these ones, they look quite nice. They've got Z H2 branded on them. These came from China. I bought them off eBay. I'll leave the link to these in the video description if they're any good. Now, this is where we're going to mount them. I reckon on this engine mount here and the same on the other side, because this, at least according to the tumble, this was the first point of contact on this motorcycle when it dropped over on its right hand side. So that's where we're going to put them. We're going to do one at a time. We're going to do this side first, then we'll go around and do the exact same thing on the other side. But it should be a fairly simple case of undoing the bolts, using the spacers here and bolting it back on. It should be a fairly straightforward process, but let's see how we get on today. All right, so we're going to do one at a time. This is a 15 millimeter bolt. Let's see if it's going to play nice. I do have a breaker bar if I need it, but I don't expect it to be that loose. Maybe it's not a 15. I'm going to try 14. So one thing I don't want to do is strip these bolts. Okay, 14 fits. And I'm not going to put any kind of a support underneath the engine. It should be fine because it's going to be supported on both sides anyway. I'm going to take this nice and slowly. Yeah, it's the first time that I'm installing these on my own. The ones that are on the ZR, they came already installed on the bike, so, and that was quite an expensive set as well. They're RNG, I think they're called, RNG branded, which is, yeah, quite an expensive make as far as I'm aware. Okay, bolt's not actually that big, but it does have some Loctite on it. I don't have any on me, but I'm going to use this spacer because this kit does have its own bolts, which I'm going to use, and they are the same width, which is good. Right, these come with a neat little painted cover as well. These weren't that expensive either on eBay. I think they were 30 quid, something like that. It's just pretty good going. Right. Okay. Oops. Okay, looking good so far. Right, so this kind of hex bolt is bigger than the ones I've got in the kit here. You could use an Allen key for this, but I've got a set of hex sockets, so these should come in handy right now. HW8, okay, HW8 it is. Right, I don't want to tighten it too much. I think that's good enough. Wow, well, that looks pretty good. That's pretty neat, you know. All right, and it's the exact same process on the other side, so let's go do that now. Going to reiterate, these are not on too tight. I haven't looked in the manual to see if there's torque specs for these when they go back on, but it's not much, I'll tell you that right now. So I'm not gonna overdo it with the tightening of these things. Yeah, that had a little bit of thread locker as well. Oh dear. Well, that's not good. I was worried about this. This really should be one of those projects that should be simple to do yourself. And it never is. It's not going. Take the washer off. See if it at least threads. Nope. Doesn't want to thread. Bollocks. I may have to cut this end off with a Dremel so I can get it all the way in. As you can see where it started to thread, but that's as far as it got. Yeah. So maybe these bolts aren't long enough, which is surprising. But it just makes me worry about the other side. If the other side has got enough headroom, it's got enough bolt length. Right, so this one here is looking like it's not going to work. Because if I try putting this in, it gets stuck here. It needs to go in a little bit more. Now what I think happened with this is because there was so little thread at the top, because this was getting stuck in there, I think it pulled out some of the threads as I was trying to tighten it down, and I think that's the problem. So I'm going to put the bolt that was there back in, this one. So wish me luck. Right, so I'm a little bit worried about this bolt, so I'm going to torque it down properly. I've got it set to 44 Newton meters, which I think's about right. Looking online, dealerships have said about 33 foot-pounds, so that's roughly 44 Newton meters. So let's see how we get on. But it just seems like this bolt has been going for a while. There we go. Okay, that's 44 Newton meters. Right, so I'm going to do, well, shall I do the same thing on the other side? Just go back to square one. I think I will. So I'm going to go back to the other side, do the exact same thing, put it back to the way it was, and just start from scratch. Sometimes that's a safer thing to do, you know. Yeah. Okay, that's annoyed me.
My mum said, imagine if that person was actually looking at the house next door and just happened to have your car. That'd be weird, wouldn't it?
There we go. Problem is it's getting dark now. Again, it's one of those things that should have been done in an hour. There we go. I'll call it a night. It's getting ridiculous. Alright, time for plan B. So the first thing that I did was I got myself some bigger M10 socket bolts. These are the originals, the ones that came with the kit, and these are the ones that I bought. So these are 140mm. I got them from, oh god, I can't remember the site, but it was like fixings.com or something like that. The diameter of kind of like the head of the bolt is a little bit bigger, but I did actually test the fitment, and it does go all the way through like that. Now, another thing I got was a load of washers just to act as spacers, something to pack the space in between, kind of like where the frame is and the end of this bit in there like that. Because before, what was happening is that this is too wide and it doesn't slip through the hole. So I'm going to try and use those washers to create a little bit of space, and then the whole weight of the bike isn't going to be on these. Alright, so just give you a recap. What was happening the last time I tried fitting these is that as I was tightening them down, these weren't long enough, and this is too wide, this is too fat. So as it goes in there, it gets stuck in this hole here and it needs to go in, I don't know, probably about another ½ an inch or so, something like that. So that's why I got the longer bolts, and that's why I got the washers to use as spacers. So let's try this again, shall we? Hopefully this will work this time. I'm wondering if I should put something underneath, but there's nowhere really to put anything to try and help it along. I remember trying to get this one back on the last time was quite difficult. So I'm thinking of using this washer that was already in there. Put that there like that, and then we'll just grab another. How many do we think? Well, we can measure it. So if we get one of the bolts, put this through, put those on there, and line it up. Okay, so that's not. Oops, that's not enough yet. So I did try looking for like some kind of spacer, but there really wasn't anything around that kind of matched what I was looking for. Okay, so that works. Well, there goes nothing, I suppose. Now I'm going to torque this down afterwards. Let's just start getting it on there. So apparently these need roughly 33 foot-pounds of torque, which is about 44.5 Newton meters. My torque wrench here is in Newton meters. Okay, there we go. So that is on there good and tight. That's not going anywhere. Good. So the last bit is a nice little plaque that goes on the end with ZH2 branding on it. It's a shame because I think this kit looks really nice, but these cheap kits never ever fit. You buy anything that is so-called universal, it never fits. You've always got to do something else to make it fit. It's always the same with these things. Now, I'm not going to be testing these out like I did on the ZX9 because these look nice, and this is just for emergencies, just in case another little drop happens like what happened earlier this year. But we're not going to try and repeat that now, are we? But anyway, that one looks good, and you can see that there is a gap here now. So I probably could have gotten away with -1 of those washers, but I actually like the spacing here, to be honest with you. Right, time to do the other side. Now there's a little bit of Loctite around these bolts, but because these ones are so massive, I'm not going to worry about it too much. I think we'll be alright without, but let me know down in the comments if that's a bad idea or not. Now, I can't remember how many I used on the other side. Was it 5? There we go. Okay, I think we're done. Alright, so after the mare that we had last time, they're actually looking okay. They actually look like they are meant to be on the bike, which for, you know, a £16,000 motorcycle, I really wanted a set of frame sliders that actually looked the part, and the fact that they've got ZH2 on them just finishes them off. The paint isn't exactly the same, but it's close enough. And yeah, around the other side as well, it's looking pretty good. I think these will do the job nicely if the bike ever falls over again, which hopefully it shouldn't. But I'll just remind you, the reason why I'm putting them here and not on the top is because this was the first point of contact when I dropped the bike before. Right here you can see where the paint scratched, and this will protrude out enough to protect all this side of the bike, and hopefully the exhaust as well, which got scratched up a little bit when that happened. But unfortunately with these things you can't really test them out unless you want to risk damaging your bike, so it is what it is. But the bolts are huge and it's all reinforced, so I think we're going to be all right with these ones. All right, so concluding this little project of ours, this looks really good. I like the end result. I mean, like I kind of mentioned earlier, we can't really test it, you know, if you don't want to damage the bike, that is, but, or risk damaging the bike. But this isn't one of those projects that I would actually recommend that you do yourselves on most bikes. I wouldn't even recommend doing it on this one either, to be honest, because you're using engine mounts, and if you strip the threads on the engine mounts, you're in serious trouble because you can't ride the bike. Your engine might fall out, you know. So if that were to happen, at that point you'd have to take it to a shop to get it fixed. Not to mention the fact that I had to buy some extra length bolts to make this work. I don't know, if you are mechanically minded, then, and you've got the tools as well, because I did need some specialty tools to get this to work, then yeah, I don't see why you'd have much of a problem. But if you're a total noob at this, I thought this would be easier than it was, if I'm being totally honest. But yeah, for most riders, I'd recommend that you get this done professionally. Yeah, I know it's going to cost a lot, and this is a cheap kit. I don't know, you might have better luck with a more expensive kit. I think this cost me about 40 quid, 45 quid, including the extra length bolts. But yeah, not the most positive experience in the world, I don't think, for something that you'd think is a fairly straightforward affair. So I don't know, that's just my experience. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. As always, if this video has helped you out, hit that like button, get subscribed, make sure that you hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future uploads on this wicked motorcycle. And yeah, I'll catch you all in the next video. Have a good one.